Ever wonder what you could learn about our world if you just paused and looked at everything happening on one single day? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're hitting pause on February 8th, 2026 to take a snapshot of the global headlines and see what kind of picture they paint when you put them all together.
So here's the big question we're asking today. Can a single 24-hour news cycle really tell us anything meaningful about the state of the world? I think it can. If we treat each headline like a puzzle piece, we can start to see patterns, find connections, and maybe, just maybe, understand the bigger picture a little better.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at some major political shifts happening inside countries. Then we'll zoom out to some pretty tense, high-stakes diplomacy. From there, we'll turn to the world's most intense flashpoints, before lightening things up a bit with the biggest stages in sports and culture. And we'll wrap it all up by looking to the future.
Okay, so first up, let's dive into domestic politics, because on this one day, we're seeing some really clear examples of nations making huge, decisive choices about who they want to be and where they're headed.
And right off the bat, we see a fascinating theme emerging. Powerful, undeniable mandates. I mean, look at this. In Japan, Prime Minister Takaichi's Conservative Party just locked in a massive majority. But then, all the way over in Portugal, the Socialist Party's candidate scores a landslide presidential victory. We're talking two completely different ends of the political spectrum, right? But they share one story. Voters aren't hedging their bets. They're making clear choices and consolidating power in a big way.
And you know, it's not just about what's happening inside a country's borders. Nations are also looking outward to forge these really critical alliances for the future. A perfect example from today, India and Malaysia. They've just unveiled a new strategic partnership, and look at what they're focusing on: defense, high-tech semiconductor chips, and trade. These are the building blocks of 21st century power.
From looking inward, let's zoom out to the international stage, because that same theme of solidifying power is playing out in the world of global diplomacy, where deadlines are getting closer, and let me tell you, the stakes are incredibly high.
You can almost hear the clock ticking on the world stage right now. You've got critical talks on Ukraine happening next week in Miami. A huge U.S.-Israel summit is just a few days away on the calendar. And then there's that big looming deadline in June for some kind of peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. The pressure is absolutely on.
And just to throw another wrench into these already delicate global discussions, you get this: a really bold and defiant statement coming out of Iran. While all these other talks are happening, officials there are making it crystal clear. Their missile programs are not up for discussion. It's a hard line in the sand.
So, we've talked about the high-level talks and the diplomatic chess moves, but now we have to look at where these geopolitical tensions are boiling over, where they have a real and often devastating human cost. These are the world's flashpoints.
7 years, that's the number, and on this day, it represents a gut-wrenching reality. It was just reported that the Nobel Prize laureate and human rights activist Narges Mohammadi has been sentenced to an additional 7 years in an Iranian prison. It's just a powerful, chilling symbol of ongoing repression.
Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine is being fought on another front, the cold. Repeated Russian airstrikes have targeted the energy grid, and now thousands of people in Kyiv are without power or heat. And this is happening during one of the harshest, most brutal winters that region has seen in decades. This is the human cost, right here.
And this struggle for justice and accountability after conflict, we're seeing it in Bangladesh too. The interim government there is now formally asking the UN for help. They want an investigation into the killings of leaders from a recent uprising. It's another nation trying to navigate the incredibly difficult aftermath of internal violence.
Okay, so amidst all this heaviness, all this conflict and tension, on the very same day, the world's attention is also captured by something completely different. We're talking about the biggest stages for sports and culture, places that give us these incredible moments of competition and, yes, celebration.
And there you have it. The final score for Super Bowl LX is in the books. A decisive 29-13 win for the Seattle Seahawks over the New England Patriots. That's their second championship in franchise history.
But honestly, the score might not even be the biggest story from that night. The halftime show was a massive, massive cultural moment. Bad Bunny took the stage, becoming the first ever Spanish-language artist to headline. He brought a global sound to a global stage, just historic.
Meanwhile, over at the Winter Olympics in Milan, you've got this incredible split-screen moment happening. Inside the arena, you have pure athletic triumph. Team USA, led by the amazing Ilya Malinin, wins gold in figure skating. But at the very same time, right outside, political tensions are flaring, with thousands protesting the presence of U.S. ICE agents helping with security. It's celebration and conflict, literally side by side.
And still at the Olympics, another huge piece of news dropped for hockey fans. The legendary Sidney Crosby has officially been named captain of the Canadian men's hockey team. That's a huge deal for one of the marquee events of the entire Winter Games.
All right, for our final chapter today, we're going to shift our gaze away from the stadiums, away from the conflicts and the celebrations here on Earth, and look up to what's next for all of us.
NASA and SpaceX are in the final countdown for the Crew 12 mission to the International Space Station. But this is not just another routine launch. There's a lot more riding on this one than usual, because it's getting extra scrutiny after the previous crew, Crew 11, had to come home early because of a medical emergency. So the stakes for this next trip to the stars are definitely higher.
So there it is. Landslide elections, tense diplomatic deadlines, heartbreaking conflict, incredible moments of celebration, and a mission to the stars, all packed into a single 24-hour span. That's the complex, contradictory, and fascinating story of today. Which makes you wonder, what story will all these different threads weave together for tomorrow?